Hey friends, happy Thursday. Today we are going to be talking about photographing large groups and also doing that on a bright day. So I'm going to hop onto this page and find my video and share it into the mentoring group. If you're not a part of the mentoring group, then definitely join us in there. It's just Candice Mentoring. And in there, we share all kinds of helpful tips for wedding photographers, portrait photographers, or anybody in the wedding industry. You don't have to be a photographer to be a part of that group, but it is a lot of photography-centric things that we talk about there. But you're more than welcome to join regardless, if you are a photographer or not. I'm going to share this really quickly into my group, and we'll be moving along here in a second. All right, awesome. Okay, so I had a question in the mentoring group about photographing large groups and also in the bright sun. So first off, let me start by saying, if you're in the mentoring group or if you follow my photography page, if you have questions about photography or anything in the wedding industry, or even sometimes brides like to watch these videos, you're more than welcome to shoot me a message and say, hey, I have this question. Can you talk about it in an upcoming live? Because honestly, like that's where I get my ideas for what we talk about is based on what you need. So if there's something that you need right now, it could be related to the craziness that we're going on right now with the pandemic or anything business related, photography related, please post in the group or shoot me a message or post on the photography timeline, doesn't matter where. Just post it because I will absolutely address whatever it is that you want to talk about. So, and since we're talking about lighting today, I did leave a link to the Perfect Portrait System, which is a brand new course and guide that I just launched last week. And I felt that it was appropriate to go ahead and put that link there because it is directly related to what we're talking about today. So if you haven't had a chance to take a peek at that, definitely click that link and take a look at the Perfect Portrait System. It's a workshop series and a series of guides to walk you through every possible harsh lighting scenario and teaches you how to shoot in every single one of those scenarios. And there are a lot of bonuses too that give you checklists for different gear that will make shooting much easier for you. And I also included my wedding day details guide, and then also a guide that will tell you exactly what it is that I use to photograph gorgeous wedding day details, stuff that is extremely inexpensive that you can pick up at like Walmart and Hobby Lobby to make your portraits beautiful. So take a click on that link, take a peek at that. I think it would be incredibly helpful for anybody that struggles with photographing in harsh lighting. It's going to give you everything that you need to be able to shoot confidently in those situations. So take a look at that, but we're going to talk now about photographing large groups in harsh lighting. So let me pull up my comment box here. Okay, here it is. All right, so I'm actually going to, from my phone, I'm going to pop into my mentoring group because sometimes I feel like I miss the comments because I'm going live from a computer program. So I'm going to hop in there and because I don't want to miss anything. And Elaine, are you on here? Elaine actually asked the question about photographing in the harsh light. Let me see. I don't see. Where's my video? All right. I'm just going to hope that this is going live in my mentoring group. We'll see. Because I'm not seeing it. Hold on, y'all. I promise I know what I'm doing. I do this twice a week, every week, and you would think that I would actually no. If there's anybody in the mentoring group that's watching, if you can just give me a thumbs up to let me know that you can actually see this video, that would be extremely helpful. And then I won't continue going through here and wasting everybody's time that's watching. If anybody can give me a thumbs up, because I know there are people watching, I know that you're watching, just to let me know so I can see your comments. That would be super, super helpful. So I know that the comments are working. So if anybody has questions, I can answer them as we go along. because I'd love to get started. All right, let's see here. Okay, I see my live. All right, I'm going to share it one more time, y'all. Oh, yes, thank you, Sherry. Thank you. Okay, all right, so I know that it's working, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to move along. Okay, so photographing large groups. So I'm going to show you a few examples today of large groups that I've photographed. I have photographed some large groups of people. And typically you'll see that on wedding days when you're photographing large bridal parties, or a lot of times you'll get larger groups of family that you need to photograph. And there are different ways that you can make those photographs more visually interesting when it comes to posing. So a couple of things that I recommend is particularly on a wedding day or even during a scheduled portrait session, when it comes to photographing those groups, especially for bridal parties, you're going to know how big your bridal party is. So you can come fully prepared to your wedding or to your portrait session because you're going to know how many people are at your portrait session too. These are questions that you should be asking ahead of time, and you should be asking through some type of questionnaire that you send out to your clients. I like to send out a questionnaire ahead of time for both my wedding clients as well as my portrait clients. So that way I know who everybody is. I like to get their names so I can at least call them by name and learn their names before I get to my portrait session or on wedding day. And that way I know exactly how many people I'm going to be posing so I can come prepared. And when I say come prepared, if it's a portrait session and I have a large group, I'm going to be bringing things with me to make sure that I can pose these individuals in an interesting way. So one of the things that I really like to have, and I don't have it in my office at the moment, folding stools are really great to use. So if you ever look at like, is it Vogue? It might be Vogue or like Vanity Fair, and you can see some of their really cool editorial shoots that they've done where they use ladders. So folding, not stools, not the folding stools like you get at Walmart. No, not those. But like the folding ladders, they'll use those to pose large groups of people and to make it very visually interesting. So that's one of the things that I actually like to bring with me is the little folding ladders. You can buy them at IKEA. They're black. You can paint them whatever color you want. They're relatively inexpensive, so you can bring a few of those with you to portrait sessions. And on wedding days, I like to use if I have a really big group of people, I like to use either stairs that are available to me to be able to stagger everyone to make the photo more visually interesting, or I will use chairs. A lot of times I'll be photographing somewhere close to the reception space on a wedding day, and I'll grab chairs so I can stagger everyone and again make that photo look more visually interesting with a large group. Rather than having them all stand in a line. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm going to take a photo of everybody standing in line. I'm going to have them stand in a line. I'm going to have them walk. I'm going to have them interact with each other. But I really do love the way that photos look when I can stagger everyone in the photo. So that's one piece of the puzzle, making sure that you're totally prepared. That you know exactly how many people you're going to be photographing or have an idea of how many people you're going to be photographing. And number two, having it thought out in your mind how you are going to pose them before you show up on wedding day or before you show up for the portrait session. So come with those folding ladders if you can, or make sure that you contact the venue ahead of time and make sure that you have some type of chairs or something available when it's time for portraits. Now, you know, even for portrait sessions or for weddings, you don't typically have a lot of time. So make sure that you have everything situated ahead of time. So if you are at a venue and you know that you're going to need X number of chairs, either have your assistant help to take care of that, or make sure that you're contacting somebody within the venue, letting them know, hey, we're going to do portraits at this location at this time. Can we have 5 chairs? Just to make sure that you are prepared. So I'm going to screen share with you, and I'm going to show you some photos that I've taken at weddings, so you can see how I distribute everyone within those portraits. And feel free to ask any questions that you might have about this. And then we're going to talk about lighting too, because that's important. So I'm going to pull these up really quick, and then I'm going to screen share with you. I'm going to like get rid of my 5 gazillion tabs that I have, because there's a lot. Don't judge me. I have a lot open. A lot to do, y'all. All right, we're going to pull this up really quick, and I'm going to screen share with you. Oh, this one's not even pulling up for some reason. All right. I use Pass for my photo galleries, and it's running a little slow today. I don't know why. All right, so here we go. So here is an example of a very, very large wedding party. This is Nikki and James. I absolutely love them. Like one of my favorite couples ever. And I don't even know how big this wedding party is. Let's see. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, maybe 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 20. I think there's like 29 people, 29 or 30 people. Might have been less than that. I don't know. But it was a lot. So what I did with them was I made sure that I had everybody on a flat surface, first of all, and I made sure that I had enough space where I could back up and use the proper lens here. I'm pretty confident that I probably shot this with a 35 millimeter. I either shot with a 35 millimeter or a 50 millimeter. But what I did was I brought in chairs to be able to make this more visually interesting, so I wasn't having everyone stand in a straight line. So typically what I'll do with these types of photos is I will bring in a few chairs. I'll have some people turned in towards, I'll have some people turned away, and you can see that I kind of staggered it a little bit here with the people in the front, so how they were sitting, and then I filled in with everybody in the back. With a wedding party, with the littles, I either have them on the ends or I have them stand by the bride and groom, typically somewhere in the middle. Now, as far as lighting is concerned, on this particular wedding day, it wasn't bright. It was actually overcast, but I'll still tell you exactly how I would have positioned them had the lighting scenario been a harsher lighting scenario. So I can tell you at this particular venue, the way that the sun sets is over here on this side at a 45-degree angle. So even if it was sunny, I still would have stood them probably in the exact same position that I have them in here for a couple of reasons. Number one, the sun would have been outside of the frame. It wouldn't have been giving me sun flare in my lens. It would have been coming in at a 45-degree angle. And then also being here on this stone patio offers a natural reflector. So as the sun would be coming down and hitting this stone, it would be reflecting back up on them and filling in any shadows that they would have on their faces. And because it's a neutral color, then it's really great for good skin tones. I wouldn't necessarily do this somewhere where it had maybe not a neutral color that would reflect back at them. You don't want to be on any kind of surfaces that are like yellow or red, or I don't know why you'd be on a red surface. I can't even think of a scenario where that would happen, but whatever that light is bouncing off of, it's going to reflect back at your subjects, and it will really affect their skin tones, and it's very hard to fix in post-process. So I highly recommend, finding a place where you have either some type of natural reflector. It could be sand, pebbles, concrete. Some kind of patio like this is always really helpful. And then making sure that you have their backs to the sun and have it off at a 45-degree angle, so it's not, blaring right into your lens and you're getting a lot of sun flare. But I wanted to show you this example because this is a very large group of people, and it will give you an idea of how you can pose them if you are having a large group. So it doesn't matter if it's a bridal party or if it is a family, bringing in benches, chairs, stools, doesn't matter. Bring something in where you can vary the heights. That way you can make the photo more visually interesting. So another example that I wanted to show you was with Ashley and John, and let me pull up this gallery. It's acting kind of funny. Let me try this again. This is really weird. Okay. We're going to try to pull up Ashley and John again because it's being a little funny. So the reason I want to show you Ashley and John is because this was a very bright day, and I want to show you a couple of examples of how I positioned them. These aren't incredibly large groups, particularly with the bridal party. I'm literally just like running you guys through the entire gallery here. It's not a particularly large bridal party, but it was a very, very, very bright day. So what you can see here are photos that we took. I'll make this bigger. These are photos that we took literally in the middle of the day. Like the sun was so high in the sky, and you can tell by right here on her hair, you can see where the sun is hitting literally like on the top of her head, which I think is beautiful. I love some rim light. I love that glow, but it was maybe 12 o'clock on a October day. So it was very, very bright. But the way that I positioned her was with the sun behind her. So you can see there's a little bit of dappled light to her side, but I don't mind it because it's not on her face. And you can see these pockets of light in the background and the pockets of shadow. If I had turned her around and shot in the opposite direction, all of these pockets of light would have been on her body. They would have been on her body, on her face, and that's not what you want. Is she sitting or standing? What were your settings for something like this? She was standing for this. And when I'm photographing, the first thing that I'm going to think about when I am choosing my camera settings is what type of aperture do I want to have? That's always the first thing that comes to mind. In a scenario like this where it's very bright outside, I'm probably going to be shooting with my ISO at 100 because I don't need for my sensor to be super sensitive to the light because it is super bright. So you know that, with your camera, your ISO is measuring the sensitivity of light with your sensor. Your aperture is going to affect the amount of light that comes into your lens, but it's also going to affect your depth of field. So all of this creamy blurriness in the background, you're going to get with a more wide open aperture. So a portrait like this, I'm typically going to be shooting anywhere between 1.8 and 2.2. When I start photographing larger groups of people is when I start to up my aperture settings. So when I'm photographing groups, I'm going to start probably at 2.8 and then go up from there depending on how many people are in my group. When I have a very, very large group of people, I'm going to back up and I'm probably going to be at the most 5.6 at the very most, because I like to have this very blurry background. So for this, I made sure that she was turned with back to the sun, that everything was properly exposed here. And we did have a little brightness on the dress, but again, that's not my focal point. My focal point is her face. So you want to make sure that you have back to the sun. You don't want any of this dappled light on your subject where it's somewhere where it's very noticeable. In this particular image, I didn't mind it. So let me show you another image. I'm going to show you another bridal party image. I'm going to have to scroll through here. So hopefully we'll get to it quickly. All right. So here is our large bridal party, and I'll show you how we utilize the steps to stagger them. So here you go. So I'm going to show you here too. Just because we were on these steps doesn't mean that I didn't have to battle lighting. So the way that the sun was setting was, this was a large building here. We had some shade here, but there were these little bits of light that kept peeking in through here just because of the way that it was setting. It was kind of off to the side. So it was still somewhat bright. So we did have to combat some of the sun that was coming in. So there was a lot of moving people around back and forth, side to side. And I want to tell you, I've been doing this for a really long time, guys. And there are times when you are photographing a bridal party and I know like they're anxious to, get to cocktail hour and everybody wants to eat and drink and have a good time. But I want you to feel confident in what you're doing. That number one, you can do this quickly, but also feel confident in what you're doing, that you take your time to a certain point and you feel confident in directing people where to go. So if that means that you're telling the entire group of people to move over 5 inches, then they move over 5 inches. And if you need to readjust and move them another 2 inches the opposite direction, then that's what you do, because you are the expert. You are the one that needs to make sure that you're getting the shot. So don't ever, place somebody or a bridal party or anybody that you're photographing in a situation where you know that the lighting is not the best and take the photo anyway and then feel like you need to go fix it in post-process. That's not what you want to do. You want to try to get the picture as perfect as you possibly can in camera. So that's another bit of advice for you. Hopefully you'll take that, because the last thing that you want is to photograph an image. The lighting is not what it should be. You panic and then you're like, oh, well, I'll just go try to fix it later on in Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever you use to edit. And then you have an image that you can't salvage, or you're spending hours and hours of your time trying to fix photos. The goal is to try to get it as perfect as possible the first time. That way you are not spending your life in Lightroom or on Photoshop. So for this particular image, like I said, we did have to battle the light a little bit. There's a couple different ways that you can combat light like this. I mean, you can have someone hold up a diffuser. That is always helpful with spotty light. But one of the things that we had working for us was definitely being on these steps. Number one, we were utilizing open shade with a building, but also we have this area down here, which is a natural reflector, which is nice because any light that's coming in, it's bouncing off of the pavers, the concrete, and it's lighting any shadows that we would have in our subjects' faces. So that's what I do when it comes to photographing large groups. I do my best to make the photo as visually interesting as possible. And the way that you do that is by varying the heights. You can do it with stairs, like I said, stools, chairs, those little ladders, lots of different ways that you can do it. But these are the ways that I like to do it. They're my favorites. And then combating that lighting. One more gallery that I did want to show you, which I thought that I had it pulled up, but I'm going to pull it up here. We're going to pull up Brooke and Alex. Another one of my favorite couples. They're like the sweetest. Let me see if this will pull up. I know we're looking at a white screen. And I'm going to show you. Oh, I'm going to have to scroll way down. But when we were photographing their bridal party photos, it was very bright outside. And sometimes you just have to go with the sun. That's one of the things that I teach in the Perfect Portrait System is sometimes it's just sunny and you don't have clouds and you don't have trees and you have to just learn to go with it. So you have to be confident in knowing where to stand and where to put your client. So I'm sorry, guys, I have to scroll all the way to the bottom. I had this pulled up and then I don't know what happened to it. I must have accidentally closed it. Sorry. I promise we're going to get to it here in just a second. So you have to really be prepared for any lighting situation, honestly, and be able to just shoot and know exactly what to do. So it's coming. We're almost there. Okay, so here's, let me see. Where is it? Do we lose it? No, I haven't gotten there yet. All right, here we go. Bridal party. It's actually one of my favorite images, and I have it on my, website. So we were photographing the bridal party. This was right after the ceremony, and there was not a lot of time because Brooke and Alex did not do a first look. So we had to make sure that we got all the bridal party done, the family done, and portraits of the two of them in a very short time frame. So not only did we have to act fast, but we had to deal with the lighting situation that we had, and we needed to shoot where we were. So there wasn't a lot of opportunity to go to a bunch of different places. So we had a little bit of cloud cover, but we still had some pretty harsh light. I remember that very specifically for this wedding day. And the way that I had them set up, you can see, is I had them just set up in the middle of this field, and the sun was coming from this direction. You can tell by looking at the shadows here. I started pointing with my other hand, guys, like you can see me. Oh my gosh. Anyway, let me use my mouse. So the sun was coming this way, and that you can tell because the shadows are here. So the sun was not in my frame, so I wasn't getting any kind of sun flare, but we just went with the full sun. So the way that I would shoot this is exactly the same as I would shoot anything else. My ISO is going to be as low as it can be for the situation, especially when it's very, very sunny. So ISO is going to be like right around 100, maybe 200, depending on what time of day. For something like this, I'm going to be shooting at 2.8 because number one, it's a group. Number two, they're moving towards me. So I have my my focal point set to the center, and I'm going to be shooting in servo because that means if I hold my focus button as they come towards me, my camera is going to continue to refocus as they move towards me. If you have your camera set on one shot and you're taking these images of people moving, you're going to get lots of blurry photos. So I highly recommend having your camera set at servo. Hold on to that focus button and continually shoot as they're walking towards you. And I just put the sun behind them, embrace that it was a sunny day, and we still ended up with really gorgeous portraits because I knew that I needed for the sun to be at a 45-degree angle and that I needed to make sure I didn't have any sun flare in my lens and that the sun was behind them. And sometimes you just have to go with what you got. So, so those are the examples that I have for you guys today. Let me turn off my screen share. I'm going to see if anybody has any questions before I sign off here, because there's a little bit of a delay with these Facebook Lives. But I'm so grateful that you guys hopped on. Hopefully you learned something today. Like I mentioned before, anytime that you have questions, you're always welcome to post in the group because I do schedule my Facebook Lives and decide what I'm going to teach about based on what you ask for. So if you post in the group that you have questions, or shoot me a message, or post on the photography Facebook page, I'm going to see it and I will take those and create a Facebook Live based on what it is that you need. So if you are struggling with lighting and you need help with all lighting situations outdoors, then definitely click on the link and take a peek at the Perfect Portrait System. It's got everything that you need to be able to photograph in any type of harsh lighting situation. And okay, so Sherry has a question before I hop off. So what settings for them walking towards you? You know what, Sherry, I'm going to tell you exactly what my settings are. Let me take a peek here. I'm going to have to pull up Lightroom and I will tell you, because I can tell you offhand, it probably was ISO 100, around that range. My aperture was probably set at 2.8, and then my shutter speed is going to be determined by, you know, what those settings are. So I'm going to set my ISO first, then my aperture, and then my ISO is going to, or not my ISO, but my shutter speed is going to fluctuate depending on the exposure. So I'm going to do a test shot, see what it looks like. If it's too bright, if it's too dark, then my shutter speed is the last thing that I adjust. I do make sure that my shutter speed typically doesn't go below 1/125th at the absolute slowest, but really 1/200th. I'm not going to go any lower than that, because if I do, then I'm going to get motion blur, especially when people are walking towards me. Now, I will say that when I'm doing this type of this type of photo, any type of group of people that's walking, I always instruct them on walking slowly. It's not a marathon. I don't need for them to actually make it to me. I only need for them to take a couple of steps. Honestly, this was probably maybe 3 steps that they took to get this picture. But let me see if I can pull up this image. This gallery is over a year old, I think. So it's hard for me to pull. I'm going to pull a web size image. I'm going to download it. I'm going to pull it up in Lightroom so I can see. Oh, this wants to download 2,000 photos. All right, let me take a peek. This is probably going to take me a minute, but Sherry, what I will do is I'm going to pull up this image from my hard drive. It's going to take me a little bit to pull it up, and I don't want to make you guys wait. And what I'll do is I will post this image in the mentoring group. Sherry, are you in the mentoring group? Because I don't know if you're commenting from that group or commenting from the Facebook page. If you're not in the group, then I can shoot you a link or add it in the comments. But what I'll do is I will post this image in the group, and then I will post the exact settings that I used for this image. So hopefully that'll be helpful. All right, guys, I'm going to hang on for just one more second to see if anybody else has any questions. And if they don't, then we're going to sign off for today. And like I said, please, please, please make sure that you post your questions. Okay, so you're not sure you're on the Facebook page. All right, Sherry, so you need to join the Candice Adele mentoring group where we talk about everything photography. So I am going to, I'm going to post a link right now for that. If anybody else is not part of the mentoring group, it's an open forum to talk about photography stuff. So you're welcome to pop in there. It's a great place with other people that are, either new to photography or trying to run a business. Here we go. There you go, Sherry. I just added a comment. Hopefully you can see it. Yeah, just click on that link. It'll take you right into the group. So like I mentioned, send me a private message or post in the group or post on the Facebook page, anything that you want to learn about, wedding photography related or photography or weddings and business in general. I'm happy to answer those questions and we can talk about it on Facebook Live. And click on the link to take a peek at the perfect portrait system if you're struggling with photographing in harsh lighting situations. You want to learn more about how to photograph in any lighting situation. Oh, when you click on the link, it's not letting you in? Sherry, I'll shoot you a private message after this and we'll get you in there. I'll make sure I get you in. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you next week and have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you soon. Bye.